are stronger, and that's what happens, is that they are the ones who are raping the women. And when we look at the dress of women in America, and the women in Philippines and in India and everywhere else is following the dress of the women in America. This dress began back in the 1800s looking like Islamic dress. They covered their hair and, long dresses to their feet. And in time we see the dress getting shorter and shorter, their hair is uncovered, and eventually we see them today wearing clothes which look like somebody took a spray paint can and just sprayed on their bodies. This is clothes. And the end result is we have an epidemic of rape in America. There is a relationship here. A relationship between dress and rape. So Islam, for the protection of the woman, because she is the weaker link in the society, she is the one who needs protection, they require this of the woman for her protection. I think that there's a lot more that can be said, but I think that basically touches on the fundamental issue. Controversial point always raised, in fact you mentioned it during your letter, is that was Abraham really a Muslim in the sense that we Muslims do worship God, or was he a believer in the only one God? Well, if we go back to the Old Testament as we have it today, we will find references in the Old Testament to Abraham, to Moses, to Aaron, to David, to Jesus falling down on their faces in prayer. It's there. If you don't believe me, afterwards we can find the spots. We have a Bible with us here. We can find the spots for you so you can read it with your own eyes. It says in the Gospels that Jesus went up in the Garden of Gethsemane, left his companions behind, then he fell down on his face and prayed. This was the way of Jesus. Jesus brought a teaching, not only verbal, but also physical. He taught us how to pray. He did not go on his knees and clasp his hands like this. When you go into Christian churches today, it's what you see people doing. They're on their knees and clasping their hands. Where does this come from? It doesn't say anywhere there in the Bible that Jesus prayed in this fashion. This was something invented by people. Jesus fell down on his face and prayed like Muslims you see today. Only Muslims are doing that, in following the teachings of Jesus. This is why I said before, to become a Muslim is in fact to become a true follower of Jesus and Abraham. So Abraham, we believe to have been a Muslim in the fullest sense, based on the law which was given to him. He worshipped one God alone, and he called people to worship that one God, and he had a set of laws which were given to him for the benefit of the society. The basis of these laws can also be found in the laws of Islam today. Question here. You mentioned people worshipping God in the form of trees and stones, etc. What can you say about Muslims worshipping God inside the Kaaba? Well, Muslims don't worship God inside the Kaaba. It's a mistaken concept. The Kaaba, you have to understand, is the first house of worship built by Prophet Abraham. This is what it is. We don't believe God is inside that Kaaba and we're all turning to worship God in the Kaaba. No. In fact, you can pray inside of the Kaaba. Muslims also pray inside of the Kaaba. The Kaaba only represents a focal point, a direction in which to pray, just as the Jews were told to pray, and Christians, in the direction of Jerusalem. This is in the Bible. A direction was given. This is for organizational purposes. So you don't have people praying this way, that way, and backwards and forwards. No, this is just for organizing worship. It's not believing that Jesus was in, or God was in Jerusalem, nor was it for believing that God is in the Kaaba in Mecca. We believe God is beyond His creation. We do not believe that God is inside of His creation and thereby end up worshipping His creation. Were there any other questions? Any questions people would like to ask orally? If not, if there are any people who, after hearing about the message of Islam and who have been considering about Islam, studying it on their own, etc., if they're interested in accepting Islam, then after the lecture they're welcome to come forward, and we can discuss with them and help them accept Islam. And with that, I would like to close the lecture this evening, reminding all of us that we have to approach our religion intellectually. We have to understand what it is we are supposed to be believing in. And this is directed also to Muslims. I'm not directing this just to non-Muslims. I'm saying Muslims. We have to know the religion. It is not enough to just practice what our parents and our parents' parents practiced, because the teachings of God was not brought by them. It was brought by the prophets. So it is necessary for us to go back to the basis of those teachings, to know the religion correctly and to follow it according to the teachings themselves, and not according to the cultural practices of our areas and according to our emotional attachments, but according to the actual teachings of the prophets. And with that, I will close asking that God, Allah, the Almighty, the one true God, guide us all to the path, the correct path, which will carry us ultimately to paradise in the next life and to a path of righteousness in this life. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.